This is one of a series of videos covering the construction of our timber frame wood-fired sauna. In this video, I'm going to go through the construction of the sauna doors. I built the doors from some 2-inch thick eastern white cedar that was milled from trees we cut from my father's farm in southern Ontario. Like most projects, I start with rough lumber, and I first mill 2 faces on the jointer to make those faces flat and square. I then move to the planer and plane the boards to uniform thickness of about 1 3/4 of an inch thick in this case. Finally, the boards are cut to width on the table saw. Okay, doing some part layouts for the door here. We try to think about grain continuity. I've got the 2 long door stiles, the sides. The center stile will be cut into pieces, but I'll keep the orientation so that it looks like a continuous piece of wood. I've got my 4 rails, 2 7.5 inch, 2 5.5 inch. This 7.5 inch wide piece will become the panels. All 3 panels, there's enough there for all 3 sets of panels. I'll resaw it down the middle, book match those, and keep track of everything so that everything lines up. Okay, I just realized I'm going to paint this door, so the whole book-matched resawn thing is a little bit pointless. However, I'll know. So with my rails all cut to length, now I'm going to cut the long side stiles and the center stiles to length. It's a 79-inch door, but I'm going to leave a 2-inch horn on each end. So I'm going to cut these to 83 inches, and then I'll cut the 2-inch horn off each end after the door is assembled. Do a rough sanity check on my parts layout. There'll be a 2-inch tenon on each end of all these rails, 2-inch tenon on each center stile. Everything looks like it's lining up about right. I'm going to cut a 1/2 inch groove in the rails. Each of the rails will get either 1 or 2 grooves, depending whether they're on the end or the center. And then, of course, the center stiles get a groove on each edge. So with the grooves all cut, now we turn our attention. Each of these parts will get a 2-inch tenon on each end. I said I cut the grooves to a 1/2 inch. They're actually, because I cut both sides a little bit bigger than that, they're about 9/16, which is fine. I will cut the tenons and mortises to match. Remember to keep your offcuts so you can make a couple of extras, so you can use those to practice getting your tenons the right size. Set your blade height for the tenons using the cheek of the piece you've already cut. Set up the tenon cutter in the groove in the table saw. Clamp your workpiece in the tenon cutter. And then to set the depth of cut, just use one of the pieces that's got the groove in it and adjust your tenoning jig until it's just cutting away the piece you want. And check the thickness of your tenon against the width of your groove. Of course, you can also use the calipers. A little bit fat here. Better to start fat than thin, because I can dial it in. That's why I make a couple of scrap pieces, actually. We'll unclamp the tenoning jig and use the fine adjustment to push it forward a hair. Now check it against our groove, and it's looking pretty good at this point. So we'll mortise these rails into the stiles. Cut a mortise through the bottom of that groove, from here to maybe 1.5 inches from the end. We want to use what we call a haunched tenon. So I got a little nub here to fill the groove. We're going to come 1.5 inches back. We're going to cut that bit off. We're going to leave that little bit to fill the groove. So roughly there. So that will be our piece we cut off, and I'll just cut that off on a bandsaw. So I like to get everything all sort of roughly assembled and lined up. I've got the extra 2-inch horn on the end of the long stiles, which I will cut off after the door is assembled. And I just mark on the stiles the location of the mortises using the existing tenons on the rails. No measuring, no thinking. Just lay it out and mark it. For the rails, I get one rail centered, mark it from the tenon, and then just mark the other rails from that rail. The inside door is constructed using the same basic techniques as the outside door, except that it leaves out the center stiles, and the panels are constructed of the same tongue and groove cedar paneling as is on the inside walls of the sauna. I cut some nice chunky handles for the inside door using the CNC machine. They were made from scraps of that 1 3/4 inch cedar that I used for the door. I rounded over the edges using my router tape. So if you watched all the way through to this point, thanks for following along. In subsequent videos, we'll cover making the sauna benches, as well as some finishing touches for the change room. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please click that like button and consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks for watching.